All right. Yeah, thank you very much. I recap of what we did yesterday. And first and foremost, to our learners, I want to be sure those of us on the call today were on the call yesterday. So if you were on the call yesterday, can you just give me a thumbs up? If you were on the call yesterday, can I? Yeah, Marion, Kojo, great. Kojo asked Ghana this morning.
Ghana is fine. We're still experiencing some harmattan, but we're enjoying the weather. It's fine. It's fine here.
Great, great. I mean, the climate change is
Yeah.
all over. It's all over the shores of Africa and even beyond that. Yeah, Victoria, let's hear from you. Good morning. Victoria Chiamaka, I can see your hands are raised. Okay, that's a thumbs up. All right. So I also saw Marion giving a thumbs up. She was in class yesterday, or she was in the induction session yesterday. So Marion, let's hear from you. How was yesterday for you? What were the take home for you yesterday? We discussed quite a number of things. So can we hear from you? Thank you very much, Frederick. I can see your video. I would love to see our videos. I would love to see our
Hi
videos.
everyone, good
So,
morning.
good morning, Marion. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Victor. How you doing?
Very well.
Yesterday was a very good day. I learned a lot actually, and the the previous cohort they actually tried to make us understand the courses and the school. So it was eye opening, and they encouraged us that even if there's challenges or there's some things we don't understand, we can actually reach out, and this is something that if you're determined to do, you can actually achieve what you want to achieve. So I learned a lot yesterday, so it was an eye-opening experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Marion. Just so we validate, Marion, where are you joining us from today?
Lagos, Ikoyi.
All right, Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you very much. Um, Ola, can you hear me? Good morning. Ola, if you can hear me, I would love for you to unmute your mic and talk to us about
Hello.
yesterday's experience on the call.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead, Ola. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm asking, how was yesterday's induction for
Uh,
you? What did you take on?
I thought it was very useful, and it was good to hear from the experiences of the last cohort and the challenges that they faced and how they were able to overcome it, and the need to kind of focus and be resilient. So I thought it was very useful.
Very useful. Thank you very much. All right, Victoria, I can see your hands are still up. All learners that has been speaking, nobody has turned on their video. Let's see who will break the jinx. Who will? Frederick, do you want to talk to us?
Low battery.
Okay, Frederick seems not to be actively present with us here. Okay, Frederick is using the in-call message. Good morning. Hello, Frederick. Okay, you can talk. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that update. Kojo, let's hear from you. How was yesterday's experience for you? You met with head of faculty, you met with a co-founder of CIL, one of the co-founders of CIL, you met with current students and alumnus. Yeah, Frederick is saying it was great hearing from the seniors. So let's hear from you, Kojo.
Okay, so yesterday was a great experience. I think the exciting part was when we got to hear from the previous cohorts. And one thing that ran through was that we started from zero. That was very encouraging to know that there are people who were once like you, and you have the hope that one day you'll be like them. that
I
was,
like that. I like that.
yeah. So that was very encouraging. And then the organizers also were very clear that it's going to be very tough. I mean, it's a very demanding course, but they were quick to also add that once others have done it, it's certainly possible for us to also do. So for them to come playing or come playing with us, that it is tough, but it is doable. That alone gave me a lot of encouragement. So I'm hoping that when we start the program, we will be able to adapt and then finish well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Kojo. Very valid. One of the things that stood out for me on the call yesterday was when the head of faculty was speaking to us, and he said, "We need you to come with everything you can for this program. First and foremost, we need you to come with you. The you factor there is as important as anything." And I think I want to play with words there. Blessing, you told us that you have to come with you for you to be able to scale through the program. And there were so many punchlines from from our seniors and alumni, and interacting with every one of us was also very, very, very good. All right, without wasting much of our time, um, we would dive straight into what we have in store for us today. And our first facilitator for today is on the call. And I would just pass the mic on to him as he takes us through technical foundations, 10,000 feet. Good morning, Olaniyi. Can you confirm you can hear me?
Yeah, thank you, Victor. I can hear you.
Thank you very much. It's good to have you on the call. Over to you, please.
Thank you. I am going to be turning on my video. Hi, everyone. So, can everybody hear me? You can use a thumbs up and all to indicate you can hear me. All right, fantastic. So after hearing, each and every participant talk about how they felt about yesterday's induction, I'm inspired to almost, steal the whole of today talking about this topic and what I have in store, right? Because I am excited about this, and my aim today is to try to get you excited on this particular journey that you have. Because you look around, it's technology everywhere, it's software everywhere, and this is the best time to break into this particular field, and it's very exciting. You must have heard a lot yesterday and today.
Monica,
So,
I'll, I'm on call. Sorry. Bye
okay.
bye.
So today I will be talking to us about technical foundations. I'm gonna share my screen now, but I want to try to come from uh, some sort of perspective, right? Can everybody see my screen? Sorry, now that I'm presenting, I won't be able to see if you are using your thumb or
Yes, we can see your screen clearly.
Thank you, Victor. Okay, so today we'll be talking about technical foundations, 10,000 feet, and the 10,000 feet here is to indicate to you that this is more or less like a general overview, right? Imagine you send a drone up there, and from the drone's camera, you are looking at what is beneath, right? It looks very, I mean, you'll be able to see a vast land, right? You'll be able to see a very large landmass, right? So the same thing is, I mean, that is the same way I want you to think about these technical foundations, right? Now, imagine you sitting on top of technology, right? On top of software development and all, right? And then looking down and seeing everything that it contains. And I want to go through this route. Um, I want us to look at this topic through the lens of software development life cycle, right? I would assume, right, this is my assumption that the bulk of us on this call are undergoing this training so that we can at one point in time build a cool solution, right? If I'm wrong, you know, feel free to unmute your mic and tell me that no, 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 I have something else in mind, and that is the reason why I'm here. Okay. All right. And what is this software development life cycle? Right. You look around, or maybe even you yourself, you have the intention of building a cool solution at any point in time, right? We've been thinking of this idea. It requires that you build some sort of applications or some sort of technology, right, to back it up or to make the life of people easier, right? You have it in mind, or or maybe your aim is to at one point in time contribute to some certain existing solution, right? You find stuff like that with people with ambition, trying to join, large companies, Google, Microsoft, etc. Right? Secure intelligence and all, right? With the aim to build something cool. And when you come with this perspective, what are the things that you need to know? It's not you as an individual, you can't gain this skill, the skills that you're about to gain in this program, right? And then say, okay, now I've gained everything. I'm going to go and sit down somewhere in my room and build the next Facebook or the next Microsoft, right? It's not usually like that because there are a lot of technicalities involved, and I want to take us on that journey and call out the specifics of um, the skill sets, especially the ones aimed by the people that are on this call. I'm going to be trying to, call them out as we have this conversation. Okay, so it's a conversation, and I want you to treat it as such. Feel free to unmute your mic at any point, and contribute. So, essentially, when we talk about software development life cycle, right? When we say life cycle generally, it means a series of phases, right? That you have to, complete before you can say something is done, or you have something basically, right? And the same thing applies to, software, right? The same thing applies to technical skills. Where does your own technical skill fall in these phases, right? When do you get engaged, and what exactly is your role during this life cycle? Is everybody still with me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you.
Yeah, I want a response from the participants. Thank you, Victor. Can you all hear me? I don't want thumbs up. I want responses because this is very important. I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. We are all,
We can hear
carrying
you. We can hear you.
on. We understand. Thank you. Uh, all right. So now I've defined what we mean by, the software development life cycle and all. But on any journey, right? Not, not excluding other aspects of life, right? When you are going on any journey, you have to start with some sort of planning, right? You have to plan. You have to analyze what you are about to, embark on. And this can be as simple as you sitting down with your mates and thinking, oh, I think if we can create a solution that address, this issue A, issue B, etc., right? We will be solving a unique problem, right? I mean, imagine we can use technology to solve this set of issues. And what are what are the what are the likely requirements, right? That needs to be involved when we are thinking about, the solution A, solution B that we are trying to provide. But generally speaking, you're just thinking something in your head, maybe having a conversation with a friend, talking about a solution and all, right? And this phase is typically, it's not um, I wouldn't say it's particular to software alone. It's particular to every aspect, right? You have to sit down, you have to think about, a problem, right? And then you have to think about some set of solutions because it's not a problem does not necessarily have a single solution, right? And that's why you see a lot of solutions coming up in Africa right now, especially in the fintech space, right? You see people, turning up a lot of fintech applications, and then you wonder what exactly are they trying to address, right? What exact problem are they trying to solve? Are they not solving the same problem? But when you dive in, you see that they have each and every one of them have this specific pain point that they are trying to help users, help people to resolve. And this immediately comes from, going into a lot of doing a lot of planning and analysis of the uh, of the problem statement itself, right? What you are trying to solve, what is the likely solution, or what are the solutions? And this brings us to defining requirements. Okay, so anybody can do planning and analysis. You don't have to be techie. You don't have to have technical skills. Okay, you don't have to be a cloud engineer yet. You don't have to be a data engineer. You don't have to be a front end developer or anything, right? But you can think of a problem, and analyze the problem, think of solutions to those problems. Now, you've come up with some set of solutions and how it's time to define requirements. And what do I mean by defining the requirements? You've gathered a lot of information. Now, it's now important that all of this information that you have gathered during the planning phase, right? That you now come up with some set of defined requirements for these solutions. Okay, like, okay, I have this solution to this particular problem, and then these are the set of requirements that are required, to actually implement this solution, right? I will do A, I will do B, I will do C, etc., and then start putting it down. But as long as we're talking about software development lifecycle, as we go on, you now realize that a lot of technicalities comes into this, right? A lot of there are a lot of other people that you have to bring on board to actually, be able to turn this requirement into a meaningful solution. And at one point in time, you realize that, okay, this is actually where I come in, right? Oh, I am here to learn about data engineering. Okay, this is where I come in, right? In these phases, right? I'm here to learn cloud engineering. This is where I come in. But it's very important to define the set of requirements for the problem, for the solution that you've come up with for that specific problem. So phase three is where I start talking a little bit in depth about the the technicalities, basically, right? Because phase three is the design phase. Okay. Now you've thought about some problems, right? You've gathered the requirements and all. You are actually taking this serious now, right? It is time to do more than gathering the requirements. It is time to start putting things together so that the problem you have in mind, I mean the solution you have in mind to that problem can come to life. And in this phase is um, where we talk about stuff like product design, where we talk about architectural designs and all, right? But these all are specific to some certain set of fields. Okay, so imagine that I want to build a solution. Okay, I want to build a solution to help people to help people in Africa, right? With well, let me paint it like this. Amazon just announced that okay, they are going to limit their interaction. That is Amazon Prime. Limit the interaction with um, content developers in Africa. And then you think of it as this is a good opportunity. This is a massive opportunity. And what can we do to help people in Africa resolve this? Okay, let's build our own streaming platform. And you sit down, you start planning streaming platform. What is going to be unique to this platform that will make it very useful to Africans, right? You start thinking about it, doing some set of analysis, and you're done with that. You put out some set of requirements and all, and then when I say, okay, we have this. How will this streaming platform look like? Okay, you started imagining stuff, but your imagination can't move past Amazon Prime and their user interface. Your imagination can't move past Netflix and their user interface because we are so used to that. But you want something unique to Africa. You want a prototype that you can show to validate the set of requirements that you have gathered. So what do? We do prototyping. Okay, we can do uh, something called product design. Okay, and this is where you employ some people that are called product designers. Some people also call them UI UX developers, right? And what do? They they can get your requirements and translate them into UIs, into images. And not only UI, they can translate it into the experience that you want, the unique African experience that you want. They can translate it into something like that, those requirements that you have defined, right? So this set of people called product designers or UI UX developer, address them anyhow you want. So they sit down, pick up some set of tools, and then they take a look at your requirements and actually come up with some sort of user interface that they feel address those requirements. Okay, so when they do that, you are able to sort of visualize past existing solutions that exist, right? You are able to sort of, get excited about the solution that you are trying to build. And in this discussion, product design or UI UX uh, designers are part of the technical resource in codes that you need in this cycle. Okay. Now, this design phase doesn't necessarily, talk about the designers and products, UI UX designers alone. There is something that happens at the back of every application, right? Like on Amazon Prime, you go to Amazon Prime or you go to Netflix, you can click on things and all, but that is just user interface. Those contents that you are clicking on, that you are streaming, they exist somewhere. How you interact with them, they exist somewhere, and then you have to interact with them from your mobile, your web client or your mobile phone, to where they currently sit, right? That means there is something at the back that you can't see. Is everybody still with me? Are we all here?
Yeah, we are here. We are listening.
All right. So there's something at the back that you can't see. We will call it the infrastructure. Okay. That is the infrastructure that holds up the content, that even holds up the application that you are viewing. In the sense that when something happens to that infrastructure, your entire solution is down. You can't access it. Right. Now, in the design phase, how do we address this also? And keep in mind, we are trying to build for Africans, right? And this is where we start thinking about, okay, what if we build this solution around, Africans? We don't take it overseas. We look for some, server providers in Africa because we want to make it, we want to tailor it to Africa, and then, we try to deploy our solutions there. And then another thought, comes up, and you start thinking about costs. You start thinking about um, security, right? You start thinking about the reliability of building this solution. And this simply means that for everything at the back that people can't see, there needs to be a design for it. That is, there needs to be a design for where you store your data, that is the streaming contents unique to Africans, where you store them. There needs to be some sort of business logic, right? Because you're now thinking about it. Your requirements are said that, okay, we want to make this unique to Africans. We want to put some sort of journey that will better resonate with Africans, and they will visit this platform more frequently, right? We want to do that. So there is going to be some sort of business logics that will sit somewhere in such a way that when users are now interacting with your application, they are interacting with your business logic. So essentially, for what people see, right, there needs to be a design. For what people don't see, there needs to be a design also. Now, for what people see, I've talked about one aspect of the technical resource that you require, right? We talk about product designers or UI UX designers. Okay, there are other technical resources that you require. You require a front-end engineer. That is, okay, now I have this prototype. This designer has done fantastic. Yes, let's make this live, right? Let's turn this set of beautiful designs and requirements into code, right? You need a front-end engineer, and you need um, people that are called back-end engineers, right? you need network engineers, you need cloud engineers. I mean, all this depends on your requirements. Okay, so this is me assuming that all of us are on the same page, right? We are new to this topic, right? And I want to try to make sure that we understand the set of things that are involved. Okay, so when we talk about technical foundations now, we've been successful in mentioning the product designers, the front end engineers, the back end engineers, the cloud engineers, etc. Now, what are their responsibilities and what are the set of skills, right, that they are expected to know? And that is what is truly going to form their individual foundations. And I believe the majority of us on this call, we are zero, right? And we are here to learn about cloud engineering. I mean, most especially cloud engineering, data engineering, right? But as we go on, the transition from zero, you realize that, okay, there are other set of, other technical persons that you have to interact with. And this phase three, the design phase, calls out all of the technicalities that are involved. So you are a front-end developer, or you are expected to work with a front-end developer. What are the things that they should know? You know, we talk about them understanding programming, very important. And they can choose different kind of programming language that they want, right? They can choose to know React, they can choose to know JavaScript, and they must know HTML, CSS, and all of those things, right? I believe we must have heard that before. So they must know that to form their own foundation, and then they bring that skill into what you are trying to build. Now we talk about backend. That is even more wider. When we talk about backend, that is where we talk about data engineering. That is where we talk about cloud engineering. That is where we talk about other aspects of engineering that you typically won't think about when you are thinking about a solution. Okay, so now we have the design. We need to turn this to a live solution. People need to interact with this. We know the set of people that are, required to jump on this solution and make the dream come to life. Then we move to phase four. Okay, and phase three, of course, comes to reviewing the design, the requirements, making some changes if needed, and then the designers, going back to adjust their changes. And I've mentioned design is not only what you typically view on on the UI UX level, right? It relates with designing databases, designing APIs, coming up with even design patterns, right? When you start talking about, oh, we want this to be a microservice. Oh, no, 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 let's be fast and, let's be up and running quickly. Let's make this a monolith and all of those things, right? So we have agreed on the approach. Now we need to develop. So what are the skill sets required in this development phase? This is where the front-end engineers, the back-end engineers now come to turn the set of requirements and the design into something tangible, right? Something that users can interact with. This is where you and I come in, right? I'm a cloud engineer. You are cloud engineers. You are data engineers. This is where we come in also. And what is the data engineer doing on this kind of project? We already talked about we want to build a streaming platform for Africans, tailored to Africans. What will they be doing on it? Some people are going to bring their data onto the platform. And this data is the kind of data you find on Amazon Prime, Netflix, right? Video data, content, right? they are going to put it in there. It's important that there is somebody with a technical know-how on how to interact with data, best ways to interact with data, best ways to move data from from their resting place, so to speak, right? If you have some videos on your phone, they are just basically there, right? Nobody, if you don't go and view them, no, it doesn't just interact with itself, right? So you can say it's sitting down peacefully on your phone until you go and interact with it. But in this case, you need that data to move from wherever you have stored it, right, down into the application itself. So this is where data engineers come in, and then during the design phase also, they would have come up with their own design and say, this is how we want to move the data from the storage to the users. And then they build something that is called ETL, right? We essentially call it a pipeline, right? A data pipeline that allows data to flow from the source to the destination. Why you can do some form of transformation in between, blah, 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 and all, right? So we do that. So data engineer is a very essential resource on all projects. I repeat, all projects. There is no project there is no application, either hardware or software, that doesn't involve the movement of data from one point to another. And you need a, a you need an experienced resource, to be able to control all of this for you, right? Now, data must sit somewhere. The client logic must sit somewhere, right? The APIs, right? So APIs are just essentially how the front end, the suite designs transformed into code, interact with the back end, or interact with the servers, right? Interact with the storage, etc. So API is that thing in between. Is that thing that you say, oh, hey, go and fetch me data from the database. Or I just open this page. You see a lot of videos being listed out for you, right? That is the APIs going into the storage, fetching you the data, and then displaying it, so that you can see. So the data must sit somewhere. The client logic, how you interact with the application, must sit somewhere also. Very, very important. So this is where we talk about infrastructure. You need infrastructure to, host your data. You need infrastructure to host your application logic, right? And then you need to secure the infrastructure. Very important. This is the same thing that happens across all applications. Very, very important. There must be an infrastructure, and it must be well designed and well secured. So who are those people responsible for that? This is where we talk about cloud engineering. This is where we talk about networking and all of those things. But for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to talk about cloud engineering majorly. So I know before now you must have been hearing talks about cloud engineering, and then it excites you, and you want to develop yourself in that capacity, right? But what is cloud engineering? What is essentially is cloud engineering? Is it when I look up and I see the cloud, and then there are some engineers in there doing some sexy stuff? No. Okay. So typically, or let's date back to the olden days, right? Before we have cloud engineering. So if you want to build a solution like this, what you typically do is you send somebody to the market to go buy some set of servers. And those servers are the ones that will host your applications, right? So they buy it, You create a special room for them. They put all of the servers inside. They do all of the connectivity, and you can imagine, right, the amount of resources that we go into that, the amount of skill set that we go into that, right? You know, they put everything together, put it in the server room, then they start monitoring it. They do the security and all of those things, right? And they monitor it throughout. There must be no downtime. It must not it must not come down on a Saturday when you are in a party enjoying your life, right? It must not come down on a Sunday when you are in church, etc. So to resolve these problems, because it's not sustainable, you have to think about the cost, electricity to power it up 24/7, you know, all of those things. You have to think about it. So how do we resolve this? Then some people have come together, they call themselves CSPs, cloud service provider. They say, okay, no, don't worry, we will build the infrastructure for you. We will create an interface on top of it. So all you have to do is understand how we've set it up. I mean, how we set up our interface and how you can interact with those resources that we've built at the back of it. Okay, so you need one person, you need a dedicated resource. We call that person a cloud engineer. So this person is that person that understands, you know, what happens on these CSP platforms. And when I say CSPs, I'm talking about cloud service providers. This is where we talk about AWS, GCP, Azure, DigitalOcean, and some other services that you must have heard before, right? So there needs to be somebody with dedicated experience interacting with these platforms, and that is the cloud engineer. So taking AWS as a case study in this development, right? Okay, we want to develop on AWS, and since AWS have some servers in South Africa, and we are building for Africa, okay, we are going to buy from them, right? We are going to put all of our infrastructures in South Africa. So the cloud engineer is the one to say, okay, these resources exist on AWS in South Africa. Database resources that we need to host our data, API resources that we need to host uh, our client's logic, basically, right, for the applications to interact with one another. Okay, then these are the securities that we need to put in place, and you know they come up with this set of things, right? And those people are the cloud engineer, and that's about to be you and I, right? That's about to be somebody on this call. You're about to become experienced in different cloud service providers, right? And I hope that you are excited about this. I am excited. I don't know about you. So this development phase essentially contains you and I, cloud engineers, you and I, data engineers, then the front end engineers, right? And we have somebody that is managing us. We call that person the product manager. That is the person managing this life cycle, making sure that we all do what we are supposed to do. Okay, and that's what happened in this phase. These technical resources, they come together, they develop, right? They build, then you can interact with your application. Like you can go to www.abc.com and then start interacting with an application. Okay, now we have this application. What do we, how do we ensure the quality of this application? Okay, we need to test it before you release an application out to some people or to a wider audience. You need to test it. Very important, right? You can test on the infrastructure level. You can test on the, the client level. You can test on different levels. You can do some things called unit testing, security testing, etc. Right? There's no limit to the amount of testing that you can do. And why do we do this testing? Is it to ensure that the application does not necessarily break? No, that is not the only reason. We do this because um, we care about user experience. We don't want users or our customers to say, at this also time I tried to use the application, it's not available. And then when I came back 1 hour after, it was not working. And I keep experiencing the same thing at intervals. You don't want that kind of story, right? You don't want users to say, I click on a button, it's not working, or it doesn't respond quickly. All of those things we want to take care of them in the testing phase, and this is to ensure a fantastic user experience. Is everyone still with me? I'm about to round off quickly, right? So we've tested, it's working, and sorry. So what are the technical resources involved in testing? You need a dedicated quality assurance person, a software quality assurance person, right? And then they go master their own set of tools. They build their own foundation, right? And then they can bring that experience onto your application and help with the general testing. And when we are good, we simply deploy our applications to our users and everybody is happy. Now I can go to abc.com and view the next generation fantastic streaming platform dedicated to Africans. Works flawlessly, contains the African user experience, and we can all enjoy, streaming contents, streaming various contents, with our family and friends, right? But that is not the end. Phase 7, very important. Your application is live. The truth of the matter is that some things will come up, some things will break even after massive uh, quality assurance and all of those, right? Those things will come up. So how do we ensure smooth running of our application, right? We do something called maintenance, right? We check our servers, do they need patching and all of those. We check our databases. Do we need to provision more storage capacity and all, we do all of these things. And typically you can call it support, right? So as your application keeps running, you keep supporting it, you keep checking, you keep making sure that users have a fantastic experience. Now I'm going to stop here and do a recap. So during this conversation, we now understand that building something requires a lot of technical resources. And the truth of the matter is that their technical foundations must be on individual levels, right? You don't want to talk to a cloud engineer and then you realize that this person doesn't really actually understand what they are doing. That means they don't have the required knowledge. They don't have the required foundation. The same thing applies to a data engineer, right? The same thing applies to all other aspects. You don't want to, personally also, you don't want to come off as somebody that doesn't have enough knowledge in that domain in which they are trying to build capacity, right? And in this cohort, in this journey, right, in this learning, that is what you will be learning. That is what you will be all about, right? Learning about the foundations that are required for you to be able to call yourself a cloud engineer, for you to be able to boldly call yourself a data engineer without fear, for you to, develop that mindset. Sorry, that in this cloud engineering space, in this data engineering space, I can quickly pick up new technology because I have the foundations. So very important, and I hope that we have been able to pick one or two, and I hope most importantly that we have been able to understand how we fit in in the grand scheme of things, right? When anything is being developed, right? As data engineers, cloud engineers, how do we fit in? So I will take questions at this point. If anybody have one or two questions for me, I will take them now.
Thank you very much for that insightful journey through technical foundations. I must say we went more than 10,000 feet. Thank you for running us through the plenty interconnectedness of the cloud space into data engineering and the various stakeholders involved in executing different projects. Thank you very much. Do we have questions for Olaniyi on this subject so far? I'll just keep an eye on that and we treat it accordingly. If your questions are not yet pieced together, no pressure. You're on a long journey with us. We would answer when you come with your questions. Even as we go into the next agenda for the day, technology, it's important to state that technology is rapidly changing the world. It's growing very fast and education has to keep up the pace. We need to keep up the pace with our mindset to embrace learning and the different ways we can learn. It's on that premise I would bring up our next facilitator who would be taking us through the various measures in which we would be learning on this program, assignments, use cases. We would be broken into teams to execute various projects. And to do that is Qazeem Adeniyi, who is a special workload engineer with Secure Intelligence Limited. Olaniyi, who just spoke to us, is a senior cloud engineer with Secure Intelligence Limited. Let's just use that title because I'm not sure if that's the title that captures Olaniyi at the moment. But Qazeem, please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Good morning, Victor.
Great. Good morning. So over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Victor. How are we all doing this morning? Good morning, everyone. My name is Qazeem Adeniyi. Like Victor said, I'm lead specialized workloads at Secure Intelligence Limited. Also, I want to thank Ni for the insightful session. Just before I go on, you all have to know that there are technical roles in tech and there are non-technical roles in tech. So if you are here today in the Zero to Techie program, you are in the you're in one of the technical roles in tech and highly sought after roles. So it means that there is going to be a lot of technical foundations that will be involved for you to be able to, get to the top of your job. So that said, I think I've mentioned my name. Should I give an insight into who I am? I don't really think so. I think what I'm going to do is this. So I'll give a quick, let me just give a quick insight into how this thing is very important to me as well. So just so you know, I also came in via the CIL Academy. I think I was part of Cohort 3, and at that time, it wasn't this big, but the dream for sure is big and even way bigger than this.
Okay.
And
Qazeem, do you want to hang on? There is a chat here, and I would oblige for that. The head of faculty wants to introduce
You
want to
want you
introduce
want
you.
you want blessing you to scatter this call. If you anything you say, my guy, I'm all yours. So, like I said, don't allow blessing you, you know, bring us back because blessing you will just scatter this whole call today and it's going to hype me. So I don't want that. Let's just focus on what we have on ground. So, like I said, I came in through this academy, like into the company. As at that time, it wasn't this big, but the dream for sure was big. And as you can see, I think when we started, or in my own cohort, we are like 25, and we come after every class or after every module, we do interviews, like they ask us questions and all those things before you can move into the next module and stuff like that. So there's been a lot of work when it comes to, um, building out the content to suit what everybody needs now, like in that cloud and technical space. So been going ongoing like that for a very long time. I think we were like 25, and four of us made it into the company, but two of us remained, like we're staffed. So it's been a whole long journey since that time, and I can tell you for a fact that between that time and now, the the learning phase for me definitely would never stop, but it's been a very huge one and something I'm very, very grateful for. Now, the reason I'm starting with this is to keep everybody on this call motivated. I didn't know nothing about cloud. I say it every time I come on calls like this. I didn't know nothing. In fact, I remember the very first time, one of the first modules we did, I think they said we should um, look into OSI model. Then I started reading about OSI model year one, and I'm like, what is all this? Like, where have I been when we were creating all these things in life? Like, have I just been wasting away? You understand? So I didn't know anything, but with the effort that I was able to put in, it's not going to be easy, trust me. But if you put in the effort, if you strive, if you are ready to learn, trust me, the top is just the starting point. So, like I said, I'm saying all this to keep you guys motivated, to let you know that yes, somebody has done it before, to let you know that somebody that didn't know anything, like actual zero, like I didn't have any idea, I'd not, coded and stuff like that before. But today I'm here. So it means, or it shows that if you're on this call today and you've also registered for this program, you can go very, very, very far. Okay. All right. So that established, I think we can go straight to what we have here in terms of assignments, use cases, projects, and teams. So the way we work, not just in secure intelligence, but let's say we always try to make sure that we follow standard process. And when it comes to standard process, now we are trying to build you to be able to contribute or add value to different organizations, not just in Africa, but around the globe. So for this reason, we make sure that the content that we are creating has every single thing you see here in it. Please, next slide, please. So, how is it going to be? For each, I know they must have given you guys brief. A lot of people have spoken, I think from yesterday, but I'm just going to give like short recap as a small boy that I am. Don't allow blessing you, change that fact. Now we have different modules, right? Now for each module, you have your course content. That's the way we have fine-tuned this Zero to Techie program. So for each module, you have contents that you're going to learn, that you're going to watch, like documentations, videos, every single thing you need to know. The reason why we try as much as possible to always infuse project use cases is because you see, in the tech world, tech is the only place where I know that it's very hard to copy another person because it's not theory. My problem is different from your problem, right? And in view of that, you're trying to solve another person's use case, another person's problem, rather. So we always try as much as possible to paint a scenario, paint a use case for you to understand, because it's not just, okay, yes, you know how to use Python. Yes, you know how to. Why are you learning all those Python? Why are you learning for loop? Why are you learning Terraform? Why are you learning? What problems are those tools or those services or those resources? What are they solving? So because of that, we have, created the scenario-based project. So for every after every module, you have your course quiz. You have assignments that will be coming in here and there, but emphasis on the course quiz, because I think you need to pass the course quiz for you to get into the next module. So the course quiz is going to test your knowledge, what you've learned, like over maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, depending on my organs like Victor, the number of weeks assigned to a particular module. So every module has number of weeks that is going to be assigned to it, right? So that's that on the assignments and projects. Then in the final module, you would have projects where you work as a team, like a full-blown team, as if you're working already, in the sense that you have a UI UX design, everything you spoke about. You want to solve a problem, you need all the technical foundations and all the professionals in the system. You need a UI UX person, you need a front-end person to integrate your API, you need a back-end person that's going to be developing the APIs, you need a cloud engineer that's going to provision most of these resources that you're going to be using. So it's going to be fun, trust me. It promises to be fun. And your biggest blessing in CIL Academy is that you have blessing you. Should I take that again? Okay, I'm not going to take that again. I think it's recorded. You can watch it again. So, but what I'm saying is this. Everything you need to skip past all these hurdles will be given to you. Please, can we go to the next slide? All right. So one of the reasons why we are doing all this, like I said, like in your final module, you work collaboratively as a team. Not just in your final module, but that is where you have the full project blown, everything on a very high scale, solving a real life use case problem. Now, the reason for doing all these things is to help build your collaborative skills. You cannot, it's very good to have the technical skills, but trust me, the moment you don't have the soft skills, you will struggle a lot in tech. Why? You work across functional teams, and if you don't know how to manage yourselves, at the end of the day, you might not achieve anything. How? So let's say, for instance, I say, yes, I'm the hottest guy in the team. I have created the APIs. I'm just waiting for the front end person to integrate it, and everything should be fine. I've done all the work, used like all my nights. I didn't sleep. Hot guy, Now the front end person, let's say you've been talking to the person anyhow because you are the hottest now. Like, guy, you don't know anything, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't do this. Okay, fine. And he looks at you like, okay, we're in the same team, right? No problem. I'm gonna show you. And there's time to integrate his own parts now. And he's not coming forth. What's going to happen? All your brilliance goes down in the mud. So the reason for this for, putting everybody in teams, like I said, you work with cross-functional teams, is to build your collaborative skills. Have interpersonal relationships with most of these guys. It also helps you develop, having an all-round knowledge when it comes to how UI UX works, how front end works. I remember when I just joined working on a particular application, and I was just told, just had problem inspecting my the data coming via the network, and one of the front end guys was like, "Oh, you just have to share your screen, do like this, like this, in like 3 minutes." I was like, "Oh," so he was giving me a way that he usually do his own thing, and from there I was able to pick it and also infuse it into my own style. I remember the day I shared with one of my back-end colleagues. What did you do? What did you do? So it was like, how did I know that one? I said, I got it from front end. So that's how it's going to be. When you work with cross-functional teams, it makes you develop faster than your peers. It also allows you to, grow as an individual. So you have, different teams. You would have projects that you'll be assigned, and you all will work as a team to achieve the solution required. If you have questions for me, I think this is going to be the end of the road, as Victor is planning to send me away quickly. Thank you very much for joining. I'm glad you all had me this morning. Thank you.
Okay, as against the opinion that I'm trying to chase you away, I just know that you have to deal with other things at the back end, and I wouldn't want to keep you too long on the call. But to our learners, like I said earlier, it's okay if you don't have your questions pieced together now. We will take your questions when they come in. Thank you very much, Qazeem, for running us through the importance of working as a team. And it's very important. It can't be overemphasized. The technical bit is important. The non-technical bit is also important. It can't be relegated. Let's take it a little bit further as we speak to perhaps what I should call non-technicalities again, in the words of Qazeem. And to run us through that session would be the backbone in talent management, the movers and the shakers. Do we have them on the call? Qazeem, don't say what you attempted to say. Just swallow it. Thank you very much. All right. Do we have Tosi
Yeah.
and Timilen on the call?
Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All
Good
right.
morning.
Thank you so much, Victor. You would have allowed Qazeem to say what he wanted to say. All right. Thank you, Niyi, for that session. Thank you, Qazeem. So this morning, my name is Olaniyi from the talent management team, and I'll be taking us through contextual learning and reinforcement. So I know that we have heard some technical aspects. So now, just like Qazeem called us non-technical, so I'll be taking you through the non-technical aspects, what you need to know, how you should position your mindset while going through this program. All right, so like I mentioned, I'll be taking us through contextual learning and reinforcement. Okay, I would like you to go to the next slide. All right, so when I talk about contextual learning, I'll be introducing us to what is contextual learning, reinforcement in theory, contextual learning and reinforcement trying to figure out what contextual learning is alongside reinforcement, how it applies now, how it applies to you as you're going through this program, then beyond the internship, what is expected of you, and then conclusion. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so when we talk about contextual learning, it's a I would like to go to the word learning first. When we say learning, that means learning new things, either skills, learning environment, getting familiar with. It could be your team members, it could be people that you are on this program with, learning one or two things in one way or the other. So I'll be working you on how to find a strategy to acquire knowledge through pertinent materials that keep you interested in what you are learning now, and that you can make use of in the practical situation. So what I'm trying to say is I'll be taking your strategies on how to make use of the your current materials that you are getting, relevant materials that you are getting that will keep you interested in this program, that will keep you focused, trying to learn, getting used to the learning structure, the learning strategy, on how you can make use of what you are learning now in the practical situations. You know, when while in school, in the university, we are being taught theories of the course you have decided to learn to enroll in. Either you studied computer science, computer engineering, whatever course you might have studied, you would realize that you had more of theories in school. But now, leaving school and moving into the working environment, into the outside world, how do you make use of that theory that you have learned in school? How do you put it into practice? How do you put it into action in solving situations, bringing solutions to problem right now? So we are talking, that means we are talking about now. How are you able to make use of that theory to solve situations now? All right, so have you ever taken a subject or course in school where you left the lecture feeling like more confused? So for me, while in high school, it was agricultural science. I remember that after I learned on cultivation, where you put a seed in the soil, and at the end of the day, you have more than that one seed on the tree. If you put a seed of let me say tomato in the soil now, by the time it will germinate, you will not get back one tomato, you will get a lot. You will see that you have a lot of it on the tree. So now, as much as we are learning, putting in strategies, going through structures, how are you able to make use of what you have learned into action? Is it that you are more confused, or is it that you are getting clarity? Is it that you are able to interpret the information you are getting in your own way to be able to practicalize it? It is also important that once you learn something, you can interpret it in your own way. I remember then back in school that there are some lecturers that they want word for word of what they have taught you. In that situation, you will just you just do it, what we call la cram la pour. You would cram it and pour it back for them. And it might necessarily mean that you don't even understand what you have read or what you have learned. But when you are able to take what you are being taught, the information, and you are able to understand it in your own way and interpret it, and also you are able to put it down in your own words, like bring up examples in your own words, and that will give you better understanding. So yeah, next slide, please. So yeah, I will go to contextual learning. So what do we mean by contextual learning? Contextual learning is a teaching strategy that allows students to apply their new information and skills to circumstances they would encounter in the real world. So like I already explained in the introduction, how are you able to make use of that new information and make use of it in the real world? All right, it is also important that from every of your lectures, every of your teaching materials, you understand. I already mentioned that, so that you would understand the meaning and you create a meaning to it based on your own experience. And that is when learning occurs, when you are able to take that information, interpret it in your own way, and you're able to you're able to create a meaning to it based on your own experience. That is when the real learning occurs, not sitting down listening to lecture. So you can be listening to me now and you don't even understand what I'm saying, but I hope that we all understand what I'm saying. So it's important that you understand, interpret it in your own way, give it a meaning in your own possible knowledge, your best knowledge, and then you're able to put it into practice. All right, so the recent example I'll give is CIL Academy program. This is what we do here at CIL Academy. We want to make sure that the information you are getting, you are able to interpret it in your own way, and you're able to apply it in the outside world, and you're able to learn to the best of your knowledge. All right, so I would like us to go to reinforcement. So when we say reinforcement, just as the word applies, or the way it sounds, to reinforce, to do something over and over to make sure that you are getting it right. So when we say reinforcement, the theory of reinforcement fundamentally premise is straightforward and obvious. So just like the way I said, it is very obvious and straightforward. Reinforcement, to reinforce something, to apply it over and over again. So reinforcement is about learning the optimum behavior in an environment to obtain maximum results. So when we say learning, I remember that I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation that when we say learning, it doesn't necessarily mean what you are being taught. It could also mean trying to get information about someone that you are on this learning journey together. It could be trying to study the environment. It could be trying to understand, oh, what strategy are we using in this learning session? Oh, today we are being taught about cloud computing. Tomorrow we are being taught about data. Is it that there's a difference between how the lecture of cloud is being passed or how the lecture of data is being passed across? How are you able to juggle between the environment, the people you are learning with, and also how are you able to maximize the information that you are getting? Okay, so for example, when we talk about reinforcement, I'll be giving an example of reinforcement now. For example, I will earn more money if I put in more effort today. So you know that as humans, when we hear that oh, when you put in more effort, you will earn more money, what would you do? That hard work, you will try to put in more effort. Say, okay, I will be hardworking today. In fact, you would realize that, you will realize that you start looking for more strategies to make you finish your tasks on time. You start looking for ways to work more smartly. You start looking for ways that will make you get that job done like quickly, and so that you will earn more money, because it's a reward. Money is a reward for your hard work. So that is an example of reinforcement. You are trying to make sure that you get familiar to this thing, you work smartly with it, you are very quick to finishing your task because you are awaiting the reward. Okay, in such a situation, the desirable behavior is enabled and supported by the desired outcome of an action, which leads to behavioral reinforcement. So because you know that when you work harder, when you put in more effort, you earn more money, that would help you to build a behavior around, oh, by the time I want to start this task, this is what I should do, this is what I should not do. Okay, I know that if I do this, I will get this. I know that if I don't do this, I will not get this. So that is what we call reinforcement, making sure that you are able to develop a behavior, develop a sense of reasoning around a particular thing, finding out to do this thing, putting effort into it. Okay, so all right. When we also talk about reinforcement, I already mentioned that it comes with a reward most times for us to be able to develop a behavior around it. So also rewarding desired behavior or punishing undesired ones are the cornerstone of reinforcement learning. So we'll get to the types of reinforcement. But right now, if you look at what I just read, it's also on the screen in case you want to look at it. It's based on rewarding behaviors or punishing undesirable ones. So now you could say that, for example, you could say that if a child plays on their tablet, they would finish their assignment. Also, as maybe as a parent or as maybe an elder sibling, you are telling a child that, okay, if you when the child does the assignment, they already know it at the back of their mind. Oh, when I finish my assignment, I would have the opportunity to play with my tablets. And also, it's also another thing if that child is always saying, okay, I have to finish my assignment by fire by force so that my tablet will not be taken away from me. So the first one is the ability to willingly want to do that and say, okay, I know that, oh, I will do my assignment. Okay, I just have to do my assignment. But when that child does the assignment, the child has the ability, the opportunity to play with their tablet. Also, if there's another point where a child will feel like, okay, oh, I must do this assignment by force so that my tablet will not be taken away from me. So the first one, we can see that the child is willing to do the assignment, and that will help the child to cultivate that behavior to say, okay, maybe when the child comes back from school, I have to do this assignment. Okay, you just see the child going to pick up the assignment without being forced, and at the end of the day, the parents will say, okay, you have done well, take your tablet and play with it. However, there's another child that feels that, oh, this thing is just like, okay, I must let me just do it, not because they are willing to do it, but because they know that if they do not do it, the tablet will be taken away from them. I don't know if we understand what I'm trying to explain. I'd like to get feedback. Do we understand? Does anyone understand? All right. I need more responses. Okay. Thank you very much for your responses. Okay, so what I'm trying to explain is reinforcement, how it applies to learning, how it applies to changing in behavior, how it applies to building a behavior around doing a particular thing or learning or achieving a task. Okay, so in order to optimize the effect of its action in a given environment, one must be able to analyze its past behavior and plan for its future behavior. This is the focus of reinforcement learning. Okay, so I would like you to, like an assignment, or not to submit, but just to brood over it. What was your behavior like before you started this program or before you even applied for this program? Are you the kind of person that you know that, okay, for me to learn, I must force myself? Not because I necessarily want to do it, but because I know that, oh, if I learn, I would get reward for more money, maybe in my organization for performing well. Or are you that kind of person that you naturally want to learn without even thinking about the reward, but obviously you will get a reward to it? So what category do you fall into? I want you to think about it. Are you the kind of person that, oh, I just have to carry out this task because I need to get reward, or because I know a punishment will come out of it? Or are you that kind of person that naturally you would just like to learn and be a better version of yourself without having at the back of your mind that you get a result, a reward, but obviously you would get a reward? Okay, so when we talk about reinforcement, I would like to just put everything together now. Reinforcement, it requires your environment, your action, how you interpret something, the state of your mind. It's very important when it comes to reinforcement. The state of your mind really is important, and after which you will get a reward to it. What is your environment like? Are you studying your environment? What is the information you are getting from your environment? Also, how do you interpret it? Are you interpreting it in a very timely way, in a very good way, such that the action you take towards that information you have gotten, you put it into action, and then you get a reward from it. All right, so next slide, please. So we'll be talking about the types of reinforcement. So after research, we realized that some academics have various types of reinforcement. But for the purpose of this conversation, we'll just be diving into two types of reinforcement. We have the positive reinforcement and we have the negative reinforcement. So from the previous conversation I've had, I have spoken about this positive and negative reinforcement, but now I would like us to really look into it, to really deviate into positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Okay, so when we talk about positive reinforcement, it's about doing that thing, following the correct behavior, following process to getting reward. Knowing that, oh, I have to do this. So if Blessing you says, oh, everyone on the learning team, I want you to review this course and come up to tell me what you have gained from it. It's in your own best interest that you go through the course to have a better understanding, so that you'll be able to get much information from the material that is being shared. So that is following process. So you go through the course, you jot down what you've been able to get, understand, digest. In fact, if you go through the materials, or you might have questions, you put down your questions to say, okay, by the time we'll be having the next meeting to discuss this material, I would be able to ask Blessing you some questions. That is the positive reinforcement, because you know that, okay, that is a necessary thing to do. The positive attitude, the correct attitude to follow in carrying out the assignment that Blessing you has given. However, there are some set of people that they will not open that material that Blessing you has given to them until maybe like 20 minutes or 10 minutes to the meeting when they are supposed to discuss that material. And you see such person trying to flip through all the pages to just maybe get one line. When Blessing you asks, oh, what did you get, or what were you able to understand from this material, they'll just say that one line. And if Blessing you is someone that can deduce that, oh, you did not really go into this material, you would be able to fish it out, and that could bring about a punishment. But someone that followed the due process to say, okay, person started reading as soon as possible, putting out everything that they have achieved or learned, and also putting down question. Blessing, you could come up to say, oh, for you to have done this, I'm impressed and I'm giving you a reward. The reward could be moving on to the next stage. And for the person that did not really dive into it, it could be that, oh, you will not be able to move to the next stage. And that is the reward they get, which is a punishment. All right. So the example I have here is for negative reinforcement is studying to avoid getting a bad grade. So like the person that decided to flip through the pages, it's just because the person wants to have something to say when Blessing you ask question, so that they will not get a bad grade. But that does not guarantee that they will not get a bad grade. It could be that they could be lucky to say, Blessing you is impressed by that one line they have said. But if Blessing you is not impressed, it would be able to deduce to say, oh, you did not really go into this material. So that is positive and negative reinforcement. Okay, so I already explained what positive reinforcement means. Next slide, please. So I'll mention some of the benefits of positive reinforcement. It could deliver the best performance possible. So the person that went through the material would be able to perform well, will be able to say things well, to the point where Blessing you ask question from any angle of the material, they will be able to provide the correct answers to it. But the person that flipped through might not be able to provide answer to every of the question that is being asked. Okay, the next benefit is it keeps the change going for a very long period. Okay, so for someone that has a positive behavior to reinforcement, you would realize that that person is able to build a very strong behavior. Okay, so it's like somebody that, let me paint another scenario, an example. Somebody that wakes up 6 a.m. every morning. You set alarm to wake you up 6 a.m. every morning, and you actually wake up by that 6 a.m. You're not like me that when I set alarm, I will put it off. It's me that will put it off and go back to sleep. All right. So when you set alarm every morning and you wake up at like the exact time when you hear your alarm, you stand up and you get your daily activity. It will get to a point where you don't need a alarm to wake you up again. I don't know if anyone agrees with me. If you agree with me, let me see your reaction. All right, thank you very much. So you get to a point where you don't need that alarm to wake you up anymore. At that point, you have developed a kind of behavior to waking up 6 a.m. every morning. That way, that behavior is constant and it will last long. It will last long to the point where until you forcefully change yourself from waking up 6 a.m. Maybe you have one reason or the other. Maybe you started having a night shift and you have to sleep in the morning. Then at that point you cannot stay awake by 6 a.m. That is when you are able to break that behavior. But if you don't have reasons to break that behavior, you realize that you keep up till waking up that 6 a.m. However, if there's somebody that only wakes up 6 a.m. because they have a task to do, they have something to do or something to deliver at that 6 a.m. and they only do it maybe once in a blue moon, that behavior would not last for long. It's just for that period that they have something to do. But for someone that wakes up 6 a.m. every morning, that attitude will last for long and it would be constant. Also, positive reinforcement improves confidence. When you do something over and over again, you are a master of it and it boosts your confidence. You are able to face anything and just overcome it. You're able to make use of that information, the theory aspect that you have learned, and put it into practical use with confidence. You won't be afraid of making mistakes because you have developed that behavior. You already have that information and you are able to process it. You have interpreted it in your own way. You have given it meaning to your own understanding so that it is easy to apply into situations. All right, so it also increases student engagement. So this positive reinforcement, I'll go back to the scenario where I said the person that was able to go through the material, jot down what they have gotten, even jot down questions. You would realize that if we have more of such students, the engagement when blessing you is around to say, okay, what have you learned? The engagement would be on the eye side. People would be able to engage more. In fact, it might get to a level where blessing you would say, oh, our time is up, and if you have any question or any other thing, you can just come to my DM. People will engage more in such situation. All right, so those are the benefits of positive reinforcement. Next slide, please. Okay, yeah, negative reinforcement. So when we say negative reinforcement, we realize that I already mentioned that a punishment can come out of it. And however, the possibility of a reward coming out of it is very slim because what you are not going, you are not doing the thing according to process or according to structure. However, negative reinforcement can also be a way of improving yourself. So when an action is postponed or avoided because of unfavorable circumstance, it is referred to as negative reinforcement. So when you postpone an action, like the person that decided to just flip through the material, person could actually get an answer right when blessing you acts. Like I already mentioned that. And blessing you is impressed. It could be a way of getting a reward. But however, most times it is a punishment that comes out of it. A punishment that, okay, if I don't do this, this will be at stake. So if I don't do this, this could be taken away from me. If I don't perform well, I might not get reward. So it is that punishment that the individual is focusing on. So having looked at positive and negative reinforcement, I would like to say that in this learning opportunity that you have, make sure that you don't wait for the last minute for you to learn. At every minute, every opportunity, every session, every material, put in effort to make sure that you are getting one thing or the other from it. And don't just get the information, make sure that you understand to the extent that you can work with it, you can run with it, you can use it to solve situations, you can use it to solve problems, applying it in the way you understand it best. All right, so I'll go to contextual learning and reinforcement. Please, next slide. So now we want to put contextual learning and reinforcement side by side. Okay, so contextual learning with reinforcement allows us to extend the reinforcement learning setting by talking about distribution on multiple characters and properties of the environment. For instance, if a person learns a policy that enables them to pick up a cup using reinforcement learning, one of the ways to determine how generalizable this policy is to determine whether the person can pick up cup of various sizes, shapes, or even other objects that are not cups but share similar physical properties. All right, so having learned about reinforcement, positive and negative, and having gone through what contextual learning is, so what we would say contextual learning and reinforcement is that you are able to learn, get information, analyze the information, interpret it in your own way, and also you are able to apply it to any situation that comes your way. So during learning, you could be given scenarios that, okay, if you do this, you can apply this information. If you need to do this, this is what you should do. This is the platform for you to use. However, you can encounter another kind of scenario that is not exactly the kind of scenario that was painted for you while learning. So at this point, how are you able to put what you have learned into that new scenario or into that new circumstance that you are encountering? How best are you able to apply what you have learned? That is when contextual learning and reinforcement comes into place. You have been able to learn something, just like the example here. You have been able to a policy that applies to you picking up a cup. But however, when you don't have that size of cup that was used as scenario for you during your learning process, are you still able to pick up other sizes of cup or other objects that looks like cup? For example, maybe a glass cup was used for you during your scenario, but now are you able to run with a plastic cup? Are you able to pick up a plastic cup and still make use of the information that you have gathered to make sure that you are still able to pick up the right object or the object that you are supposed to pick? So majorly what I'm trying to say is that the information you are learning now will not necessarily be for the situation of now. It might not necessarily be for the little situations or the little problems you're encountering now. There might be bigger problems in future. How are you able to put those information into use? How are you able to put that knowledge into use to make sure that you are solving the situation? Okay, so how does it apply now? Next slide, please. How does it apply now to you? So you'll be able to transfer and apply the knowledge in the real world because CIL Academy will place learning in the context in which you would use your new knowledge and skills. You'd be more likely to understand how the knowledge you would acquire during the learning experience is relevant to your role. So this is a better, this is putting what I've been trying to say in a better sentence. CIL Academy would be there for you to make sure that you are learning in the right context, getting new knowledge, getting new skills, but not stopping there, but also it would help you to understand and have a broad knowledge of how you'll be able to put the information into your role and your role into maybe when you finally are in the working environment 100%, how are you able to put that knowledge into it? Okay, so next slide. So beyond the internship, beyond this internship, beyond or trying to get information, trying to get the right knowledge, when a learning framework draws on the context of real-world task situations and problems, the learning and assessment can authentically reflect your everyday experience. And sure, you'll be expected to transfer your new knowledge and skills into a professional context beyond CIL Academy. So beyond CIL Academy, you are expected to transfer those knowledge into the professional setting. Just like Qazeem said, when he joined CIL Academy, he didn't know anything, but he put in the effort to make sure that he gets the right information, he knows the right thing to do, he knows the right step to take, and he has developed a positive behavior on how to go about this thing. And today he's doing well, he's putting those information into situation, using them to solve problems here at CIL. So beyond this internship, we want you to know that we are rooting for you, that you don't only learn here, but you are able to put your experience into the professional world and making sure that you are one of the best, you are doing well out there. It could be that you would remain in CIL, and even if you are not in CIL, wherever you find yourself, you are able to put out your best and do your best. All right, so I would like to recap what we have said. We mentioned contextual learning, defined contextual learning, also spoke about reinforcement, how reinforcement can include your environment, how you are able to interpret the information you are getting, then the state of it in your mind, how do you process this information you are getting, and what action do you take concerning the information. And this, your action could come about reward, or it could come about punishment. We spoke about the positive reinforcement, we spoke about the negative reinforcement, and also we spoke about how contextual learning and reinforcement would help you in this learning process. We also spoke about how it applies and how it applies now, what you should do now, and beyond the internship. And right now, I would like to go to conclusion. What is expected of you? Allow yourself to enjoy the teachings in relatable scenarios in your daily life while employing contextual learning with reinforcement. As much as you learn, make sure that you paint scenarios in your day-to-day activity. If you get an information today, make sure that you are able to interpret it in your own way and you are able to create scenarios by yourself. Apart from the scenarios that maybe are being painted for you while teaching, also allow yourself to create scenarios. It will help you to learn faster and also get the information faster. You can ingest positive reinforcement by celebrating your small wins. So reward comes with it. You could even reward yourself. And you can ingest negative reinforcement by getting rid of anything that can prevent you from attaining your goals. So anything that can prevent you from attaining your goals, such like you are preparing for an examination and you feel that if you read, you would pass. If you don't read, you will not pass. So you could kick out not reading to be able to read and get reward for it. All right. So we are rooting for you and we hope that you enjoy your learning process. You enjoyed all the teachings, all your sessions, and all the strategies that you would be taught. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you have any question, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Timmy. You've taken us through the importance of applying ourselves to the different style of learning. And there's no beautiful way to have captured it more than what you have done with us this morning. Thank you very much. Questions would come in, I believe. However, it's safe to say we take a 7 minutes recess. So you might want to stand up, stretch your legs, get water, get a cup of coffee, and just ease yourself a little. And in about 7 minutes from now, we will dive into the next bit of the meeting, which is data engineering 10,000 feet. So see you in another 7 minutes from now. All right, can we confirm we are here? Can I get thumbs up? Marion, are you still here? Kojo, Oladimeji, Frederick, Titilope. Oh, great, great. I think I forgot my glasses from when I went to 3/4. Okay, let's do this without my glasses. So we're going to the next bit of today's induction agenda, and to take us in data engineering 10,000 feet is the data engineer himself, James, popularly called Teddy in the organization. Hi, Teddy. I hope you're not going through a lot right now.
Hello, Victor. Well,
All right, over to you, Teddy.
hello, everyone. Good day. I could tell we're all from like different aspects of the world, so I'm just going to say good day, good morning, afternoon, or evening. Hi, I'm Teddy. Um, I'm a data engineer here at CIL. Things about me generally, but I'm a data engineer here at CIL. I also came through the academy. I was part of the second cohort. Wonderful time it was, to be very honest. Learned a lot during my time. In fact, I was even new to the cloud, new to a lot of concepts back then. But look where I am today. Okay. So going forward, basically, earlier on, some people came before me and they spoke quite a lot. The likes of Ni. Ni spoke about the technical details of everything, right? When he touched on where different aspects comes in. Let's say we have a front-end engineer, we have a data engineer, and so he mentioned two, three other engineers as the case might be. Well, I'll be speaking on one of them, and it will be on the data engineering. Yeah, we'll get to talk about the data engineering, what data engineering does, how the data engineering actually builds stuff. Okay, so let's start with who is a data engineer. So a data engineer is just, in general terms, right? They just build and maintain the infrastructure for data. In the current world, we actually find ourselves, everything is directly tied and connected to data. And the person who owns the data rules the world, basically. And that's been a known fact. The more data you have, the more people you'll be able to reach out to, the more interestingly you'll be able to shape thought and processes of people based on the kind of data you have. Okay, so when we say data engineer, what does an engineer does? An engineer builds, right? Not only builds, they also plan, they also arrange, they touch a lot of things, get their hands dirty. In the case of data, right, it means they get to store data, they get to edit that data, like basically mutate it, performs some various kind of transformation on the said data, and they get to give the data up to people who want to actually make use of it to drive their own decisions or probably edit it as the case may be. A very good example of what I'm trying to say is on this call, right? You guys could see my video, you could hear me speak, and you could also see the slides. I could see some very fine people, images. Nobody is showing me their videos. I could see some very fine people, images, and the rest. They are all data, right? And these data are stored somewhere. But we could see it in real time. That is, as I'm speaking, you could hear me speaking in real time. We're going to touch on a bit of that. How is it possible? Where's the idea actually coming from? How do they get to do things like this? This is what we'll actually be discussing. Moving on. Okay, so we're also going to be talking about a little bit about the roles of data engineers. What does it contain? The characteristics of data, like the slide in front of me now, you can see we have the four V's, right? The characteristics of big data in general. Now, these four V's contains volume, velocity, veracity, and variety. I'm going to touch on each and every one of them, then I'm going to explain further. Okay, so let's start with the volume. Basically, volume just means how big it is. Sometimes you might wonder how big is the data. If you were like me back in those days where we move movies to our phone to actually watch the said movies. If your friend has a movie, probably send it to you via Zenda. If you're very old, via Bluetooth. I'm not sure people send movies via infrared. That would take like years. But basically, right, you watch your movies via your phone. And one thing you would know is the bigger the size of the movie, the clearer it will be. There are some movies whereby the pixels are so jumbled up based on the sheer size alone. So basically, it's still the same movie regardless, but you just have different sizes. Think of data like that. Data, there's a huge size. Data comes in various sizes. There might be huge size of data. There might be terabytes, petabytes, even exabytes of data, like very, very large quantities of data. How big do you think the data Google actually has for us? How big do you think it is? So basically, and how do they get this? How do the data actually get this big? If you think about it, we make use of social media very constantly. People post per day. People post millions. In fact, if not up to billions, if you combine all social media in general, just within a 24-hour span. So people post videos, images, put out their thoughts, and everything out there, right? And all these are data that are coming in from various aspects, various places. And all these are actually very, 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 very huge data. So social media platforms actually generate a large range of data, right? From posts, from comments, from likes, and all those data are used. All those data are used. We'll get to the use very soon. But before we get to that, let's talk about the velocity. Velocity is how fast do that data actually come in. Now, the definition here is the frequency of the data that needs to be processed. It comes in various aspects. Now, if you think about social media posts, I'm going to make example of one. Let's say Twitter, for example, or for Facebook. If somebody makes a post, right? If somebody makes a post right now, you might be actually be scrolling through your own timeline and you might actually not see that post at that very point in time, probably until you refresh, right? You could tell that it's actually not totally necessary for you to see that post at that very point in time until you refresh. Aside if you're chatting with the person at that very point in time, so the person needs to know you're communicating and you're still online, or the person will go offline. But if it's on the timeline, you could tell that okay, the data doesn't actually need to be processed at that particular point in time. But what if the data needs to be processed instantaneously? For example, real-time data. Where does real-time data come in? How many of us has used the likes of any car hailing application? How many of us have used either Uber or Bolt before? I'm a huge fan of Uber. No, I'm a huge fan of Bolt rather, not Uber. Okay, so at least one person has used one or the other before. But you could tell if you go to the application and you actually want to book a ride, you want to know where the car that is coming. You want to know how far it is. If the car is coming closer, you want to know how long it will take. You want to see the car moving, right? The car is moving in real time and you're seeing that car in real time. You could tell that the way that data is processed in real time is very different from scrolling through the timeline and somebody makes a post, you're not seeing it in real time. You could see the frequency there for that data to actually be processed is actually quite a lot different. You understand? And these are the likes of this is when we speak about the velocity of how data is processed is managed based on application basis, right? You don't want to be, for example, you don't want to be a forex trader trading in probably stocks or currencies as the likes might be, and the data is a bit slow for you, whereby the data is actually updated per second, and you're making trades based on a data that is not updated at the very moment. You're basically making a lost trade because you actually don't know what's going on at that point in time. Because when it comes to the forex market, every second counts, every penny counts, right? So when we're talking about the velocity of data, we're just talking about the frequency of that data, the frequency that the data actually needs to be processed on, right? Just a common, just a common example. You mentioned like two, three examples. There is veracity. Veracity is just like, is the data reliable? This data we are actually making use of, is it reliable? Should it be, is it something I could, okay, bet my engines on that regardless of what it is, regardless of what is actually in this data, I could actually make use of it. I'm totally sure it's coming from a reliable place. I'll mention one of my experience with veracity, as this case might be. But before that, there's kind of some examples I actually have on ground. The examples will be health records. In some hospitals, right, when you come around, they will tell you go take some tests, right? And when you take a test, they don't even tell you. It's not like they give you your test samples; they just give you some notes. Well, in other hospitals that are actually very advanced, you really don't need to do anything, right? They might just give you a number and your details will be stored on their own platform, right? They'll store your details, they'll store any kind of, if you have any kind of illness, any kind of your blood group type, all those kind of basic details, right? And all these details are very, very important. Why are they very important? If they get any of them wrong, a doctor might probably give you the wrong drugs, and that might basically affect you, right? So the veracity of data, it means basically, is this data totally reliable? What's the reliability of this data that I'm actually using? You understand? So it comes in various ways. It might actually be health wise. It might actually come in like various industries. You understand? But you should know that data has to be very, very reliable, because if the data is not reliable and we're making use of it, you're just making wrong assumptions from the data. And basically it could actually kill an individual, especially in the case of an health record, or as the case might be. Yeah, my own case study on this veracity of data. It happened to me once. At a point in time, I was supposed to pull data out for a particular situation or a particular occasion. I did pull the data out, but then I went to pull the data out from another platform. The person in charge, the person in charge of that data was the person who actually went through that data was blessing you. You guys have met Blessing you. He spoke to you on the first day. Blessing you came to me. In fact, it's not like he even had a look on where I was pulling the data from. He just had a look at the data with based on the knowledge he had initially. He came to me and he told me point blank, this data you put is very incorrect. Very, very incorrect. And because this data was supposed to be used to actually be some sort of kind of facility to judge some case study. So you could see he had to tell me to go and actually put the data from the right sources, make sure I get that data properly before actually bringing it back to him, because this data is actually going to affect individuals across board if it is not correct. So veracity of data, this data has to be correct all around, right? If you're actually working with data, yeah, you have to have the idea beneath that this data you're actually pulling or you're actually working with needs to be total, very, 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 very correct. Before we actually end, before I end my session, I'm actually going to show you an example of data across board. Probably kind of pull one for you so that you get an idea, right? Let's talk about a variety. Data comes in different formats. We have text data, we have image data, like you can see, we have video data. This is my video you're seeing. We have audio, right? Data comes in various and lots of formats, right? And these formats could be either structured, that is probably in a relational database, a SQL table or so, and the likes, maybe using the likes of uh, I wanted to mention data. I want to mention database in the cloud. I want to mention more natural database, that is the likes of Postgres, MySQL, or unstructured data, probably the likes of MongoDB or DynamoDB. An example of the cloud platform too, that also unstructured data, or the likes of probably text. Text are also unstructured data because we make use of videos. Videos too are also unstructured data. This data comes in various formats, and you get to see data like this every day and work with them. You understand? And they come in various formats. Before we actually move on to the next slide, let me show you an idea of how data comes, the whole importance of having data in place, right? The whole importance of having a huge data in place. So I'm going to share my screen. I want you guys to let me know when you can see my screen just in a second. Then we'll go to a platform. Then we'll check how data actually works in that platform, right? Check how data actually works in that platform. So I'm going to share the screen here. Let me know if you guys. I need to know if you can see my screen because I'm currently sharing my screen. I want to actually show you a very good example of how data works. You guys can see my screen, okay? So I'm just going to go to the website, general website. Let me go to Facebook. Let's come. Now, when you come to Facebook, right, you get to see how fine and beautiful it is. This is how fine Facebook is. Most of us have used Facebook. That's I'm actually going to actually speak on Facebook, right? But what actually powers Facebook? Facebook is powered generally by data, right? And how does that data power Facebook? Where's the data aspect? We can actually see the data aspect. I'm going to stop sharing then share again. I think I'm sharing the tab. I'm supposed to share my full screen. So I'm just going to stop sharing then share again. Here we go. I want to share my entire screen so that you guys will actually see what I'm actually doing. Okay, so I'm sharing my entire screen. Guys, please let me know if you can see my entire screen. Can you see my screen? Are you guys looking? Okay, so I could see a couple of people actually see the see my screen. Okay, so let's move on. Now, where does this data actually come in this place? So I'm just going to right click here and I'm going to click on inspect. Don't worry about this. All this you will learn as you move on, right? All this you will learn as you move on. Then I'm going to reload this page. Just basically, this is me reloading the page. Now, have a look at what I'm having at the back end here. You can see I'm having a couple of things coming. And what are these things basically? What are they used for? Now, this is the various source of data Facebook is actually using for this page. You guys might not want to actually believe this, but let's see if we could pick one of them. Then we'll just check if we're correct, right? We pick one of them. Then we just check randomly if we're correct or anything. So basically, we have you can see we have scripts. We have just all kinds of stuff here. I want to see if I could pick an image. I don't want to really pick. Let me see. Let me see. Sorry. Okay, script, PNG, manifest. Okay, this is the only document. This is the only document. Okay, so basically, what Facebook is doing is this is how the data is coming in, and this is the data they are actually plugging in for you to actually see what is in, what you could actually currently see as it stands right now. Now with Facebook, it's a little bit okay, maybe a little bit overkill because I actually have to look for a little bit of stuff here. Let's do something here. There's a website I actually love to actually use to do my thing. Online. Why do I love this website? Because I worked on it excessively. I worked on it in my earlier days, and basically this website is just it's a general website where you could actually go to do all kind of things across the African continent. You could listen to radios, play music, watch videos. Basically, it's just all about all over Africa. You could listen to any radio station all over Africa, watch movies all over Africa, play videos. There's TV, there's news aspect to it. You understand? There's something I actually want to show here. So with this website, you can see I pulled it up. And you can see this is the various documents. This is various stuff that the website is actually using. But there's one of these, in all these things, there's one of these things I actually want to show you. So if I come here, I look through all these things you can see. I'm looking for a particular, if I could see a particular endpoint, then I would show you what it looks like. Okay, for example, let's have a look at, I've seen one, I just want to show you where I'll be calling it from. So I just reduce this. You could see this is images of various images, right? These are various images. This is news. You could see this is linked to news channels and everything. Okay, so if I come here, just a second. Sorry, my network is a bit lagging. Okay, so have a look here. This I've seen it. Category TV category. I want the category to be news. I've seen the one for TV. I could show you that one. I want it to be general. Let me see. Uh, let's since I can't actually find the one for the news, let me just show you. Okay, I could see the news, the various news category. Have a look. If I click on one, let me say I click on the first one. This is the headers, this is the payload. I want to click on the general one they have. This online, this is the general documents. Undefined autoplay bookmark. Let me see. If this has the response I'm looking for. No, it doesn't. Okay. Was I using GraphQL here? Was that using graph theory? I don't think so. Okay, just moving on, right? But you could see that all these are the various things they are actually using on this particular image, right? On this particular website. If I pick on anyone, you could have a look here. Look at the request URL I'm picking here. You could see this request URL I'm picking here. If I go here and I search for it, basically it brings up this logo. You could see this is where the data is stored. This is a link to where this image is stored. But when you come to the website, they use that data where it is, they put it here. You can see where to signify that, okay, this radio station you're about to play, this is the logo of the radio station. Are you guys with me? So you can see for each and every one of them, right? There are actually data that are actually stored somewhere. These data that are pulled from where they are, right? You know, earlier on I heard me speaking about ATL, right? Basically, you extract the data, you transform the data, just change it to any how you want it, then you load the data up to where you actually want to use it, right? So basically, they are pulling the data from where it is. They are pulling the data from where it is. After doing the necessary changes and the requirements, now they are putting the data here for you to actually make use of. So each and every one of these images are actually data. You understand? Playing the video or playing the audio or listening to a particular radio station are actually coming from various various endpoints, that is various data sets or wherever where the data is stored, be it a database, be it a data lake, right? So getting to know that, you now know that generally across board, right? Across board, data are always this. Everything you're actually interacting with is always stored somewhere on the cloud or probably somewhere on the local premises. We're going to discuss that further on, but just know it is stored from somewhere, and the data engineers or the data engineering process basically is the process of carrying that thing from where it is stored, doing your own computations to it if you want to, and giving that thing and putting it out there to where you actually want to make use of, right? That whole process is called data engineering. Now, it might come in various aspects, right? It might either be machine learning and the rest. Next slide, please. Okay, so what's the responsibilities or the roles and responsibilities of a data engineer per se? We've discussed some of these roles and responsibilities. Basically, getting the data. Data comes from different sources. The data might actually be in an object storage. It might actually be in a relational database, in a non-relational database. It might be from different aspects, right? It might even be from streaming IoT devices. Like I said, Google Maps. How does Google Maps actually, when you're on the road, you check your map and you see that, okay, there might be traffic up ahead. How does Google Map know there is traffic up ahead? Because Google Maps will actually detect traffic from phones, right? From individual phones. They could tell if there are multiple phones clustered around a particular area. Google Maps will be able to tell, okay, due to the fact that there are multiple phones around this area, is there actually a huge possibility there is traffic in this particular area at this particular point in time. You understand? So basically, getting this data from various sources, different sources where the data are, transporting the data, you understand, and storing the data where you actually want to store this data. Now, the data, you might store the data in any place that pleases you. I've made mention of different places like an object storage, a relational storage, a non-relational storage, and the rest. And also transforming this data. Transforming this data in the sense of sometimes you really actually want to do some kind of computation on this data before bringing it out there. For example, I believe when all of us registered our email accounts, we had to put in our first name, our last name, our details, just various other details, right? But when we actually came to this meeting, you could see the only thing I could actually see here are your fine images and your first name and last name. I can't see your date of birth, right? So in between, they are actually transforming the data, probably doing some form of computation to say, okay, these are the things I need from this data at this point in time. Although the user have all this stuff stored, these are the particular things I actually need to show at this particular point in time. Just give me the first name, the last name, and the image of that particular user. If the user does not have an image, put the first letter of the first name in and put it in the second, just add the color to it. Are we getting it? So the whole process, right? The whole process is basically data engineering. And data engineering does even more than this. They architect this data. They build the process, they test, they build the pipelines, they maintain this data system to make sure it doesn't break, to make sure everything is still working fine and is still giving the right output as the case might be. The next slide, please. Okay, so what are the skills a data engineering needs? What are the specific kind of skills you actually need to excel when it comes to data engineering? First off, you need OOP, basic understanding of OOP, right? OOP cut across multiple programming language. I do hope, like most of us, they actually know what the programming language is, right? So, if in case we don't, we're just starting from scratch. A programming language is a language. Basically, I'm speaking to you in English and you understand. But for me to actually speak to a computer and the computer to understand, I need to speak in a language the computer understands, and that's what the programming language is. Just communicating to the computer and in a language the computer understands. Now, a couple of programming language actually have their own method of actually implementations, right? And with some of them, like Python, for example, we make use of the object-oriented programming. Uh, What does that mean? It's actually just a huge term for further simplification. What does that mean? Basically, we think of things as objects in Python. Now, I would say, for example, we have a vehicle. I'm not telling you what type of vehicle it is, right? Um, Basically, what does a vehicle does? Vehicle will have wheels, might be two, it might be three, it might be four wheels. It has wheels, basically. Uh, Helps you move from one place to another. Runs on a kind of fuel, probably diesel, probably petrol. Just basically, that's a general understanding of the vehicle. You understand? Basically, we're treating it as an object itself, and from that object we could now drive other parts. Now, when I say okay, I want to drive other parts from what a vehicle is. For example, I might say vehicle A has four wheels, uses electricity. Even with just these two examples, you could actually tell that the vehicle A I'm speaking about is an electric vehicle, probably a Tesla or the likes. Is there any other vehicle that actually uses electricity that is not an electric vehicle? That basically a car that is electric? I don't know. Probably there might be, but just the general idea is now we've abstracted from, we've inherited from what is actually there. We've just added a little bit of details to it. You understand? We treat it as an object. So basically, we could inherit from it and just put our own little details to fine tune it to how we actually want it to be. Initially, I said class A was a vehicle. Now, I'm now saying vehicle A, which is actually part of class A. I've given it other details. Instead of the this thing I've said, instead of just classifying it as a vehicle, I've said it has four wheels. Now I've said it uses it uses an electric power. It has equal to drive itself. You understand? These are just a little bit attributes I'm actually adding to specify what kind of vehicle it is. You understand? So we treat everything as an object in Python, and from the object we could just actually extract what we need and put our own fine-tuned details to just to modify it based on our own personal needs on how we want to actually define it. Python itself. Now, Python is an example of a programming language. Uh, what else is there about Python? Python is widely used for a wide range of things. Python could actually be used for web servers. You could use it to write the backend of your application. It could be used for machine learning, data analysis. Python could be used for just wide range of things, even for provisioning infrastructure if you want to build infrastructure. What are your infrastructures? I believe you've spoken a bit about infrastructure. I'll also be touching on it just in a while. But generally, Python is a programming language, one of those programming language I made mention of that you could actually use to interact with data. Now, open source frameworks. Open source frameworks are actually generally frameworks that are open to the public. Anybody could make use of it. For example, let's say I want to make an example of one. Uh, let's say I think in the earlier 2000s, somewhere around 2010, that's 2010, and somewhere around 2010, 2012, Facebook developed React. If you guys know about React, so React basically is an open source framework you could actually use to build your websites. Just general use case study. Facebook developed React, but they were using it for themselves. Nobody else had access to it. You understand? Then after a while, they decided to open source it. Basically, we have this cool thing that we're using, and we believe everybody should actually make use of it if you want to use it. So I'm just going to put it out there, and you can copy my code to make use of what you want to do, to use my code to do what you want to do. Basically, you get the general idea. So basically, open source frameworks are frameworks that are actually built to actually simplify a task, be it building a website, be it doing data analysis, be it building infrastructure, and basically open sourcing it so that everybody could make use of it at large. People could actually contribute to make it better if you want to. You could go and say, okay, I noticed this framework we're using actually doesn't have this habit, and I want to actually do something like this. So you could actually go and say, make a pull request. We'll explain what that means later if you don't understand. Make a pull request to that particular framework, to that particular project that is the open source framework, as the case might be. They vet it. If it's okay, they add it, and people make use of your own idea. You understand? So open source frameworks are just generally frameworks that are the source code are made available to the public and freely accessible. You could make use of it, you could edit, you could use it to actually build your own stuff. This React that I'm saying Facebook actually built, right, is currently used by over maybe 10 millions, hundreds of millions of people across the world now. There are multiple websites that are actually totally based on React that Facebook built in-house, and they opened it to the public. So open source framework allows the source code accessibility. You could actually see the code. They have documentation and support so that you actually know how to build what you want to build. There is a documentation that tells you at this point, this is what you do. If you have this, this is what you do. If you want to do this, this is what you do. There's continuous improvement. People actually contribute to these frameworks, right? People go to this framework, contribute, edit, put their own thought process, add their own ideas to this framework to make it better, to make it more security conscious. That is just basically simplify it better for other use case and other people uses, right? And community collaboration. Open source also has community collaboration. Basically, anybody could come and contribute to a framework as long as what you want to contribute is good and is valid. Okay, so I've mentioned an example of open source framework. I made example of React. There's also an example of one in Python, Django. You could actually use that one with web servers. You could even use Django with React together too, if possible, if you want to. And cloud engineering, cloud data infrastructures. So basically, we have infrastructures of data that are not really cloud based. We Earlier on, I made mention of saying we were going to actually learn this along the line. You could have your on-premise server, basically a server that sits in your own house. I'm hoping to actually build one soon. A server that sits in your own house, and basically the server has your website and everything. But it's a lot of stress, to be honest, because you have to maintain it. You have to make sure light is running 24/7 on it. You actually, so that it doesn't go off, because immediately that server goes up, it means your website is no longer online. And other little details, your database and the rest, and the whole connection, networking and everything. Well, there are some cloud service providers that came in and said, why don't we actually build all those for you? And all you just need to bother about yourself is building the application. The likes of AWS. Now, so when we say cloud data infrastructures, AWS offers a wide range of data infrastructures from for SQL database, that is basically RDS, even Aurora, basically the serverless versions. Even if you want to use your normal ones like MySQL, Postgres, Oracle, and the rest, AWS offers those cloud data infrastructures for your database. Even for your non-SQL database, that is the NoSQL, basically the likes of DynamoDB, DocumentDB, and the rest. They offer various data lakes, right? You could use the likes of S3 as a data lake if you want to. AWS has wide range, even time series, right? You could even do time series on AWS. Wide range of data infrastructures for any of your use case. So in CIL, that is basically in this academy, you're actually going to go through. You're actually going to be taught each and every of these data infrastructure, how to use them, when to use them. Because knowing how to use them is one thing. Knowing when to use them is actually the main thing. Knowing how to use something, you could actually read up and learn with time. But knowing when to use them and how to pair those two together, how to use and when to use, you understand? Basically, everything you'll be taught in this academy as we move on. Now, database. Speaking of database, there are various kind of database, right? The SQL, the NoSQL, the non-SQL, and the graph, even the time series, the columnar, and the rest. Now, what does SQL database means? Basically, a database that has a relationship with each other, mostly one-on-one relationship with each other. A very good example. We are up to 21. We are 20. We are 20 on this call. We're 20 on this call. Now, there are some people who are going to actually be the lecturers that are going to lecture you on some of the things you'll be working on. Basically, the likes of Blessing, the likes of Qazeem that spoke earlier on, and maybe I too occasionally, as the case might be, and and you guys that will be learning. So basically, there is a student-teacher relationship there. You understand what I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say? There's a student-teacher relationship there. So those kind of relationship are the relationship that fits on a SQL database. That is a relationship where you could point to, okay, this table is a teacher, this table is a student table, this table is a teacher table. You put in the student details, you put in the teacher details. If you want to assign a student to a particular teacher, all you just need to do is in the table of the student, add an additional column and basically say, okay, this student is using this student, the person in charge of this student is blessing you, the person in charge of this student is Teddy, the person in charge of this student is cousin. Basically, more like a one-on-one relationship. You understand? You could also use it for one to multiple, but again, it's not really as advice. These are the things you actually learn as you move on. You get to work with all these kind of data, and you actually get to work and you get to see the drawbacks on trying to implement data sets like that, or trying to implement your architecture, that is your own data architecture like that. We also have non-SQL databases. Non-SQL databases is just basically, I really don't want to actually define my database schema. I don't want to say every student must has a name, every student must has an image, every student must has a class. I just want to put, regardless of what student it is, I just want to save them somewhere. Now, there's going to be a little bit of structure to it, to be very honest. Most people just don't think there is structure to it. There is always structure to anything you're doing, but it's just that at that point in time, it's just that a NoSQL database is just basically the general idea of you could put it in various formats and it still will go into the database. The major difference about the SQL and the NoSQL is the difference in schema. The SQL database, you actually have to define the schema. And what is a schema? A schema is basically how you want the data to appear in the database, and what kind of data should the database accept at each particular point in time. A NoSQL means you don't have schema, you just want the data to actually be going into a database. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't have schema. They see some level of schemality, let me call it that way. They see some level of schemality actually put in place to mitigate stuff like this. We're going to be actually discussing a lot on databases moving on. So I really don't want to, like, when you actually get into the academy, so I really don't want to actually digress. Then you get to ask your multiple questions. If you have any question you want to actually ask now, you can keep on dropping them. We also have graph database. Now, there are some databases that are very, very complicated. Example, I made mention of social media. Let's take one for example, Facebook. On Facebook, we could all be friends. I could be friends with Blessing, and Blessing is friends with Victor and Bolanle, but I'm not friends with Victor and Bolanle. I'm only friends with Blessing. So now, when Bolanle posts a picture, Blessings like that post. You understand? Blessing like that post, and I could still see the post that Blessing likes this post of Bolanle, even if I'm not a friend with Bolanle. Now, you could see the complication of these relationships. It is not one-on-one anymore. It's not a student teacher. It is, I know you, you know this, you understand, multiple people. Now, a graph database is a database that is actually used to map this kind of relationships, right? Where Blessing likes Bolanle post. Bolanle is not a friend of mine, but I could see Bolanle post because why? I'm Blessing's friend. You could see all the interconnected relationship. Graph database in AWS, we're actually going to discuss more on it when you guys actually come on board. You understand? We discuss more on graph database, both on AWS, both on other platforms, even open source platforms, right? The likes of Neo4j and the rest. We're going to actually touch on it a bit, and we're going to see the best use case to actually make use of them. The next slide, please. Okay, so what are the roles of data engineers? Say you come into the academy, you're done with your data engineering, you're done with your process. What where could you actually apply for? To be very honest, right? One thing most people don't know is all these rules are interchangeable. Well, first thing first, right? Let me just put that out there. All these rules are interchangeable, almost all interchangeable, especially when you're a data engineer. You could see the benefit of being a data engineer is you're right there at the middle, to the right, to the left, you're everywhere. So as a data engineer, you're doing data architecture because you're planning on how do I actually build this thing from scratch? How should the data be structured? Where should I store this? Where should I store that? Where should I store the details of this? How do I edit this? You understand? Where should I actually build the pipeline? Where are my data going to be coming from? Where should I be passing my data through? What should I be doing at this particular point where the data is coming? You understand? Basically, how to architect the data. You could work as a data architecture. You could work as a machine learning engineer. You could work as a data scientist. You could work as a business analyst and a data analyst, basically driving insights from the data that is stored to show the insights to the particular users, right? Driving insights from data that is stored and showing the insights to other people, basically for them to drive how they will actually make information, business information. For example, if you have 50 users on your platform, and out of the 50 users, you have multiple things you're doing in that platform. But those 50 users, let's just say 45 of them are mostly doing a particular thing on your platform. When a business or data analyst comes in, right, and when they do the analysis on the particular on those kind of data sets you already have, they will let you know, okay, this is where users are actually focused on. Why don't we actually build more on this? Why don't we add more things on this? Since more users are focused on this, basically to increase more sales for us. You understand? So data engineers or data individuals are actually needed across board, across any business, because to actually make a business information, it comes down to the data itself. It comes down to what kind of data the users are interacting with, what everything the users are doing. Everything comes down to data. I'm just going to make a very general example of a use case. YouTube. Let's say you're a new user to YouTube and you just created your first YouTube video. And so you just watched your first YouTube video. If you're like me, you watch a YouTube video on, let's say, football, for example, right? You will notice that the other YouTube videos the other videos they're actually showing you are football. And the other videos they're showing you that you can watch that are similar to what you're currently watching will be the likes of football. Mostly is a machine learning process there. Basically, the whole idea is let's use what you have watched, let's use it to guess what you are going to watch or what you like. You could see where using data to drive customer satisfaction comes in. That is basically to pull more customers into your platform. What are they actually going to like? And it is used across board almost anywhere, be it Facebook, be it Twitter, be it any social media, be it any application. Data are actually used to drive insights and used to actually get more customer success approaches and the rest. Next slide, please. So basically, that's everything I have about the data, just the whole data engineering rules and everything. If you have any questions, you could actually drop your questions, and if you don't, I are still actually going to meet up when we're actually taking the various modules, like Cousin showed us, the various modules when you come to the academy. We're going to actually discuss more on data there. We're going to discuss more of the type and how to actually build the data sets. Victor, please.
Okay, head of faculty, blessing you. I don't know what to do with our guys. But actually, everyone overshot their time today, and I had to start crying on from my end that please don't let my learners run away because this is supposed to be induction. Head of faculty, what do you have to say to that? You're muted.
Unmute me. Am I unmuted now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Fab. Good. Audio is good. Yeah. I do apologize to all learners, please. All cohort 7 celebrities. I do apologize for the overrun in the time, but I do promise you that we'll overrun more. It's just normal nature, right? So start getting used to it now. We will get into classes and we'll just stumble over something. And before you know, what was supposed to be 1 hour becomes 8 hours. It has actually happened, right? On the Saturday, we started by 9 a.m. We were supposed to finish by 11. We actually finished by 8 p.m. because we ran into trouble. Yeah, that was, do you remember? That was MTLS. And we didn't still finish that stuff that day. So please, I do apologize. See, I'm kneeling down, please. But I also promise you, this is likely to happen a lot. So do dimension. Each time we say we need it for 1 hour, just tell your wife, tell your girlfriend, tell your husband, tell your boss, it's 2 hours, just in case. Okay. Thank you very much. And it's been a great day. Very great speakers all across. And yeah, I've enjoyed myself. I don't know about you. Where are my people? Where's Gladys? Did Gladys come back today? I've not seen
Yeah, I think I
Gladys
saw
today.
Gladys earlier.
Oh, is she here today? Hi, Gladys. Hi, Kenya. Hi, Nairobi. Oh, no, it wasn't
Hi,
Nairobi. She was in, what was the place? Fika. Fika,
Vika,
yes. Say again?
Vika.
Vika.
Fika. I can never pronounce it correctly. You have to teach me. And Kojo, yeah, I was enjoying you this morning speaking about something earlier on, Kojo. Yeah, nice to see you again. Mario on that. And then there's this man that posted in Slack. Is it Muhammad or what's his name? Muhammad, was that you that posted in Slack? Check Slack for me. Oh, Thika. Yeah, thank you, Gladys. Yeah. One of them has posted. So you guys start chatting in Slack. It's open now to some of you. Use it. And from yesterday, what was the man that asked all those questions? Read one. Was it read one, right? Read one. Where is he? Is he here today?
Yes, I saw it in one class.
All the names are beginning to come into my head now. Yeah, I see you, read one. I see you now. And Ikoko, this name, man, this name will move mountain. How do you pronounce it? Is it Ikoko or Ekoko? Go on. Oh, I know he's unmuted himself.
Frederick, do you want to unmute your mic and speak?
Yeah, he has unmuted. He's just not coming through on the audio yet. Is it Ikoko? No, don't worry. I'll find out. I'll find out in a few days' time. But yeah, just kind of wanted to say hello, hi, thank you, and apologies once again for overrunning. Hopefully, we'll still see you again tomorrow for the main onboarding, and then the learning begins. Module 1 begins on Thursday, according to what I heard. A little bird told me so. Good luck. And yeah, thanks everyone for today. Victor, back to you.
Thank you very much, Head of Faculty. It's been a very wonderful time working through today's agenda. While I understand I don't want to keep us waiting, I know I passed the communique that there is going to be one bit of blogging your journey with CIL Academy. So we'll just move it to tomorrow, seeing that we are pressed of time and I want everyone to set in gradually. During the course of the activity today, I'm privy to the fact that a mail went out and it's giving us access to CIL Academy LMS. Please respond as best as you can. Learning has started. That is your learning platform. We want you to settle in, get your hands around it, and you would be getting access to courses before the end of the induction tomorrow. We'll spend a huge chunk of time tomorrow to deal on LMS related matter, navigating LMS, and yeah, that subject basically. So just as we round up, Ridwan, do you want to unmute your mic, turn on your video, and tell us what has been the highlight for you today? Then we go to Gladys, and Frederick. Then let's see if we would go further again. Real one, are you there? It's okay if you can't turn on your video, just unmute your mic and talk to us.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, real one.
Yeah, I'm currently in transit, but I understand the fact that you talked about the roles. You talked about the roles, like the roles, data analyst, business analyst, data engineer. Then you also talked about the infrastructure, about how cloud engineering infrastructure is about the security, how you can be able to set up data centers. Can you hear me? I hope my background is not
Yes, I
noisy.
can still hear you.
So, you
It's
talked
okay. You
about
just round
product
up on
design.
time.
Yeah, you talked about the product design because by the time we start building infrastructures, there has to be a design. We have to plan. Planning is the first thing, planning and analysis. So, and you also talked about the fact that we need to, as regards to the HR, as regards to our behavior, we need to unlearn and, relearn and learn. Okay? We should not act as a result of the fact that we want to really develop ourselves as a good change mindset towards growth. So we also talked about the learners, that they'll always be there for us, learners and student relationships. So there are many more, but I feel maybe what I've said is still much quite okay. Is that correct?
Very well. Very well. Very well. Thank you very much.
So
Let's hear from Gladys.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, Gladys is using the in-call message. The four V's. Interesting. Interesting. I'm trying to see if I could read volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. Oh, interesting. Oladimeji is saying conceptual learning with reinforcement stood out for him too. Awesome. Glad to hear that today has been another round of informative journey in as we help you to settle into CIL Academy. So, folks, the Slack channel has been opened up to us. If you don't have access to it, please write to me via email and I would attend to that promptly. Everyone is supposed to be on that channel. It's dedicated to Quad 7, a communication, interaction, and what have you. Tomorrow we'll go same time at 10 a.m. West African time, and we will wrap it up and have a full-fledged onboarding into the LMS. If you want to ask questions on the Slack channel, please don't hesitate. Once you do, we would respond to it accordingly. A big shout out to all our facilitators today. Ni, Teddy, Qazeem, Simi, thank you very much. And to our facilitators who have we've moved their session to tomorrow. If you are still on this call, a big shout out to you, Blessing, Ojugbeli, and Emeka, respectively. We'll see you tomorrow and enjoy the rest of your day. For those of you on transit, stay safe. For those of you at work, have a wonderful working day. See you tomorrow.